Number 9, we want to describe the function of the underlined statement in the text as a whole. So it says, individual elephants and Arctic herbivores, such as caribou, tend to have fixed geographic ranges throughout their lifetimes, which had prompted some researchers to speculate that the Arctic woolly mammoth, an extinct elephantid, might have exhibited similar behavior. So before we even go any further, it seems like this underlined portion is providing a rationale or reasoning why the behaviors are doing the study that presumably we're going to read about these Arctic woolly mammoth. And since these elephants and herbivores are similar to these woolly mammoth in certain ways, that behavior perhaps suggests a behavior that these extinct elephantids might have exhibited as well. Let's continue. Mammoth tusks grew in sequential layers, incorporating ingested minerals and organics, and so each ivy stratum reflects the ratio of strontium isotopes in the local environment. Thus, the sequence of strata shows where the animal roamed during life. This middle sentence is essentially setting up for us. Here's how they're going to figure out what the geographic range of this woolly mammoth was by using the strontium. I think the scientific details don't matter as much as it is just justifying how we're going to get the answer or the evidence that we're getting. So recent analysis of the strontium ratios in the strata of one Arctic woolly mammoth tusk in relation to the geographic distribution of strontium ratios in the environment shows the animal's range began to expand as it reached sexual maturity, only to contract again in its final 1.5 years. Remember the comparison to these other species was that they had fixed geographic ranges. These are not fixed, right? These are shifting. These are changing, right? As the animal gets older, it changes. It'll expand, then it contracts. So they had a hypothesis, and it doesn't seem to be borne out by the study. Let's look at the choices. What is the function of this underlined portion? A, it discusses a characteristic shared by certain animals, okay, in order to explain why researchers raised the possibility, right, that there's a connection between that behavior and what the woolly mammoths did. That turned out not to be supported by data described later in the text. Yes, they used this as a basis for comparison, as a hypothesis, and then they tested the hypothesis, and it turned out not to be true. Cool. Let's just check the others. B, it illustrates a pattern of behavior among certain animals, okay, in order to present a theory about exceptions to that pattern. Wait a minute. The woolly mammoth was not supposed to be an exception. It was supposed to be initially in the pattern, like matching the pattern. It just turned out that it wasn't true. So this, unfortunately, is not true. So B is out. C, it describes a similarity in the behavior of certain animals, okay, in order to show why a method described later in the text did not reveal whether another animal also showed that behavior. No, it did. Like the strontium method did show that the woolly mammoth did not share that behavior. So C is just not true. D, it introduces a trait shared by certain animals, okay, in order to contextualize hypothesis, okay, about the origin of that trait that is advanced later in the text. Oops. Does not talk about the origin of this trait. Does not talk about why these elephants and herbivores stay within a fixed range, and that we learn from the woolly mammoth, like why that's the case. It's all about, does the woolly mammoth share this characteristic? And it does not. So D is out. Best answer is A.